The Klon Centaur. There is no pedal that's ever been made that's been as hyped up as this pedal, and it's one of the most highly replicated circuits on the market today. And in the context of this channel, the Klon Centaur plays an extremely important role when we talk about John Mayer's sound, his gear, and especially his pedals. And on today's episode, I'm going to discuss the really interesting scenarios in where John has actually used a Klon Centaur clone rather than the actual pedal itself. Let's get into today's video. But to start off, let's rewind here a little bit quickly. John first started using the Klon Centaur during the Battle Studies era. It was in his Bradshaw rack unit along with the Marshall Blues Breaker Mark I for that light overdrive task. Now, during this era, he was clearly experimenting with the differences between these two pedals and which one he liked. And once we moved on to the Born and Raised Paradise Valley era, the Marshall Blues Breaker Mark I was dropped in favor of the Klon Centaur full time. For those of you that care about this sort of thing, John has only ever used the silver non-horsey Klon. Obviously, all the circuits are identical, but this is the only enclosure style he has ever used, save for when during the 2019 World Tour, John started using a blacked out Klon Centaur, but both Josh Scott and Zach from Mythos have confirmed that it is just a Klon Centaur that has been painted black or converted to a black enclosure. I've done a video on that very subject as well. Feel free to go check it out. It'll be linked on your screen, carded up above. But it is the Sob Rock era where that Klon clone in question actually comes into play here. And when John was performing on the late night television shows in promotion of the Sob Rock album, he was using a pedalboard that didn't feature the Klon Centaur on it. However, based on the image that we got of his pedalboard, a lot of speculation was going around that it could be a Rockett Archer instead, but we never had a good enough shot of that pedalboard until now. That's right, it's a Rockett Archer Jeff modded version. And this is just really interesting because John obviously can afford whatever he wants. He doesn't really play clones of things for the most part. He's played the odd clone in kind of his earlier days, especially of dumbbells and things like that. But at this point in his career, he can afford whatever he wants. And the only other instance I can really think of him ever using a clone of something is for the Octopus. But that could just be due to scarcity of these things. There's less than 400 of them made. And so a lot of the time, maybe he just uses a Mark II just because he doesn't want to bring out his stash of Mark Is, because once they're kind of beat up and start to not function properly anymore, that's kind of it. They're never going to make any more of the original version of the Octopus because they do sound a little bit different to the reissues. But I digress. Really, this is the main case that we've ever seen him use a clone of something. I guess save for when he performed with Shawn Mendes, he did also use a JHS Bonsai. But still, you guys get what I'm trying to say here. John using a clone of something is a very uncommon occurrence. Now, the shot of John's board where we can tell that it is an Archer is from his performances with both Bob Weir as well as Alexander 23. Once these performances were done and we got shots of his board from them, that's where we ended up realizing, okay, now we have confirmation that on this smaller B rig, he's using a Rockett Archer Jeff mod. And it kind of makes sense to a degree because the smaller rig isn't what he's using for his larger tour. Obviously, it doesn't need to cover all of his sounds in his catalog, just the basics and a few things that he might need to throw on if he chooses so at the spur of the moment. So the Rockett Archer Jeff mod is John's Klon clone of choice that he's using on this B rig. It still honestly does kind of perplex me a little bit because John is someone who could just go on reverb, and as he's mentioned in the past, he can sort price high to low, and he can just buy whatever he wants, and he could easily afford a different Klon Centaur on a B rig, but maybe it's because he's been blacking out pedals and he just doesn't feel like doing that to another Klon Centaur, so he chose a different clone on his B rig. I don't know, but it's very perplexing at least. And of course, circuits can be replicated, and I'm sure the Jeff mod version of the Archer is phenomenal. I have the Icon version, and that pedal actually has a lot of the characteristics I look for in a Klon clone, and I really think they did a great job on that version and that take of the original Klon Centaur circuit. So if you are a big John Mayer fan and you're looking to build a pedalboard that either is heavily inspired by John or just able to replicate some of his sounds, and you're looking for a Klon clone, well, your decision just got perhaps a little bit easier because this is a Klon Centaur clone that's clearly approved by the man himself, else he wouldn't throw it on a board and use it live. So this might make your purchasing decision a little bit easier to go with this version of the Archer. And there you guys go. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, I'd really appreciate a thumbs up. Just helps the YouTube video grow, and all hail the algorithm, as you guys know. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you on the next one.
Anyway, go ahead and click the subscribe button if you like what you see.